Here's something that turned out to be a challenge. 2 floppy drives on a desktop computer. Chances are you'll find support only for 1 floppy, if at all. I'm going to show you why. This Abit motherboard from 2006 indicates support for up to 2 floppy drives. However, I couldn't get a second to work no matter what I tried. The BIOS shows options for drive A and B with the usual 3.5-inch and 5.25-inch formats. I decided to attach a logic analyzer to the floppy cable and see what signals are actually being used. On boot, the computer seeks both drives to effectively reset them. The floppy drive controller uses different lines to select each drive. You can see that drive A responds as expected, but not drive B. Let's watch that again. You can see the motor and drive select lines for drive A become active, and the head step line which moves the drive head. Drive A works. Then the BIOS tries to move drive B, and nothing happens. For some reason, motor enable and drive select B are not changing. Also a little odd, motor enable A stays active while the BIOS is still trying to talk to drive B. The computer, sensing trouble, throws a floppy disk fail error 40. Pressing F1 to continue, there's an attempt to boot from A, but with the latch open, it goes to the hard drive. The reason for single floppy support appears to be this Winbond Super I/O chip. Older versions of this chip have select and motor lines for drives A and B. The chip on this particular Abit motherboard only has lines for drive A, so while a second drive can be on the floppy cable, the motherboard is not able to properly select drive B. Adding to the confusion is inconsistent information. The motherboard manual and BIOS show support for 2 drives, and wording on the Super I/O chip indicates support for 4 drives. Perhaps these are all cases of outdated documentation or last-minute changes in production. To be fair, 5.25-inch floppies are from the 1980s. USB 3.5-inch floppy drives were quite common in the late 1990s, so it's understandable that manufacturers might want to drop floppy support entirely. Notwithstanding, here are some classic floppy sounds alongside the analyzer data. Here's one you've heard before, booting off drive A, a 5.25-inch floppy into DOS 6.22. And another one, formatting a 5.25 floppy in DOS. And creating a small text file. It was fun digging into this. I could have just found this by looking at the chip early on. I did look at the chip documentation early on and suspected the missing data lines for drive B, but it was really fun to connect the analyzer and actually confirm what was going on. It was also really interesting to see that the BIOS was trying to send the signals, and some were going through, the head moving select was going through, but that it was not able to select the drive.